Hello, and welcome to Once Upon a Time in Black History. I am your host, Tamara Shiloh, author, educator, and owner of the Multicultural Bookstore in Richmond, California, and Las Vegas, Nevada. You can also find us on my website at onceuponatimeinblackhistory.com. Our shows are sponsored by the Multicultural Bookstore, and if you're interested in becoming a sponsor, please send me an email at tamarashiloh@gmail.com. Alrighty then, let's get this party started. Hello everyone, and welcome to Once Upon a Time in Black History. I'm your host, Tamara Shiloh, and I am so glad you're here. On this podcast, we explore fascinating stories about remarkable people whose lives and contributions helped shape history in ways that still impact us today. And before we get started, don't forget to visit my online bookstore at www.multiculturalbookstore.com, where you'll find some wonderful titles celebrating culture, history, and inspiring stories for readers of all ages. Today, I want to tell you the remarkable story of a young girl whose life changed almost overnight. Her name was Sarah Rector, and at one time she was known as the richest Black girl in America. But her story is about much more than money. It's about history, opportunity, and how unexpected events can completely change someone's life. Sarah Rector was born in 1902 in Indian Territory, which later became the state of Oklahoma. She was a member of the Muscogee Creek Nation, one of the Native American tribes that lived in the area. During this time, the United States government had a policy of dividing tribal lands into smaller individual plots. This policy was called allotment. Each family received a piece of land, but many people did not want the land they were given. Some plots were rocky, dry, and difficult to farm. Sarah's family was given 160 acres of land, but the land did not look very promising. In fact, it was considered poor land that most people thought was useless. Her parents tried to make use of the land, but farming there was difficult. Eventually, they decided to lease the land to an oil drilling company, hoping that maybe they could make a little money. But no one expected what happened next. In 1913, when Sarah was only 11 years old, the oil company struck oil on her land. And not just a little oil, a lot of oil. Suddenly, oil wells were producing huge amounts of petroleum from the property that people once believed had no value. Almost overnight, Sarah Rector became incredibly wealthy. At first, the oil wells produced around 2,500 barrels of oil every day. This meant Sarah began receiving thousands of dollars each month in royalties. To give you an idea of how much money that was at the time, Sarah was earning more than many adults made in an entire year. Newspapers across the country began writing about her. They called her the richest Negro girl in the world, but Sarah was still just a child. Because she was a minor, the government appointed a guardian to manage her money. This was supposed to protect her wealth until she became an adult. However, life became complicated. At that time, America was still deeply divided by racial discrimination and segregation. Some people were uncomfortable with the idea of a young Black girl becoming so wealthy. In fact, Sarah's wealth caused so much attention that the state government even changed her legal classification. Now imagine that. Even though she was African American, Native American, the state legally declared her white so she could live in a wealthier neighborhood and receive better financial protections. Really? Now think about that for a moment. A child became so wealthy that the government changed her racial classification just to manage the situation. As Sarah grew older, she enjoyed many opportunities that were rare for young girls at the time. She attended boarding school, traveled, and lived comfortably with her family. Her wealth also allowed her family to move into a large home in Kansas City, Missouri, where they lived a life that many people could only dream about. But Sarah did not simply disappear into luxury. As an adult, she became known as someone who was generous and supportive of her community. She helped friends and relatives and lived a full life. She eventually married and raised a family. Although oil wealth can sometimes disappear quickly, Sarah managed her fortune wisely enough to remain financially secure for many years. So look how some things happen in life. Who would have guessed that land people believed was worthless would turn into a fortune? And who would have imagined that an 11-year-old black girl, mind you, would suddenly become one of the wealthiest young people in America? What looked like poor land turned out to be filled with valuable resources beneath the surface. Sometimes the same thing is true for people. When others underestimate someone, they may be overlooking incredible potential. Sarah Rector passed away in 1967, but her story continues to be remembered today as one of the most fascinating stories in American history. And some of that story is in a movie called Sarah's Oil. So, thank you for joining me today on Once Upon a Time in Black History. I'm your host, Tamara Shiloh, and I hope today's story inspired you to learn a little more about the incredible people who helped shape our world. History is full of amazing stories, and each one reminds us that courage, creativity, and determination can leave a lasting impact for generations to come. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend, a teacher, or a student who loves learning about history. And don't forget to visit my bookstore at www.multiculturalbookstore.com, where you'll find wonderful books celebrating cultural voices, powerful stories, and inspiring history for readers of all ages. Until next time, keep learning, keep imagining, and keep discovering the amazing stories found in Black history. I'll see you on the next episode of Once Upon a Time in Black History. Thank you for tuning in to Once Upon a Time in Black History. For more information on this topic and others, visit the Multicultural Bookstore at multiculturalbookstore.com. And again, if you want to advertise in our podcast for a mere $25, please contact me at tamarashiloh@gmail.com. See you next time.